Welcome everyone. This is a virtual social experience on DayZ, a video game. This is for my Com 100 Intro to Mass Communications class. Before I begin, I'd just like to say in the interest of time and brevity, there's a lot of information to go through in this PowerPoint, so I encourage viewers to pause when it comes to definitions and quotes, as I'd like to keep this PowerPoint concise, but also informative. So let's begin. Now, when many think of a video game, they don't often think of interaction with others being part of its core. Most people don't expect that when you play, you'd have to contend with hunger, thirst, rain, temperature, and darkness all over the course of several hours only to die and lose everything. The vast majority of gamers are used to saving their progress or possessing loadouts with weapons, clothes, gear, and a bunch of other fun things before they even start. Enter DayZ, a video game that resembles no other and made with one simple goal in mind: survival and interaction. DayZ is an open world sandbox zombie survival game, and I know that's a mouthful. You start with absolutely nothing, and as a true permadeath game, which is a genre of video games, you lose everything when you die. It requires an immense amount of patience, focus, and drive to simply get started, and running around and shooting everyone will result in a massive waste of time. Now, as the game's creator, Dean Hall, states, DayZ is a simulation of how people behave in extraordinary circumstances. One would probably ask themselves who would benefit from playing such a horribly sounding game. It's generally a game for those needing work and social interaction. DayZ offers those who are introverted, socially awkward, worried about interaction, and downright shy a place to hone in on both interacting with others and understanding human beings in an apocalyptic scenario and in our rawest form. Before anything, I'd like to give a quick history of the video game. You see, DayZ was not a normal game even in its creation. In 2012, a game known as Arma 2, a hyper-realistic military sandbox PC video game, was modded by an individual known as Dean Hall. And there's the definition of modding for anyone who'd like to know. Dean Hall modded an already hyper-realistic video game into an open-world zombie sandbox survival similar to an MMORPG. Again, a mouthful, but MMORPGs are massive multiplayer online role-playing games. We learned about that in this week's reading by Baran. As stated earlier, DayZ placed an emphasis on two things: surviving for as long as possible, and interacting with other players. What followed was a game that debuted with record sales, but was plagued with bugs and glitches that oftentimes became comical, but were very frustrating for players. One of those odd bugs that some people have dealt with. I've never dealt with that specific bug. Ultimately, the mod survived and was released as a standalone video game in 2013. DayZ was a massive, and I have to stress massive, undertaking, the likes of which most studios would never take on due to the inherent risk that sees developers focus more on sequel video games like Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto. Again, this was in our text this week, the chapter on video games. But due to the modding aspect of it being designed by both player and a fan of Arma, it ended up surviving. And there's another quote by the creator, Dean Hall. Now, according to Baran, 55% feel video games help them connect with friends, and 46% say games help them spend time with family. And during widespread lockdowns across most countries, many turn to video games to connect with others. However, DayZ is different, and a distinction has to be made between this and other video games. DayZ interactions are usually random encounters with others that you have never met. The state in which you see another person generally dictates what will happen next. For example, if you have a gun versus if you are unarmed, the choice is absolutely yours. DayZ separates itself the most from other games with its propensity to allow for bonds and the formation of friendship. I need to emphasize that interaction was such a heavy proponent of the original game's idea that without it, most do not continue to play DayZ. Why? Impatience. Because the average player is looking for quick bouts of action like Call of Duty, and DayZ is definitely not for everyone. However, when players do interact, they build a bond that I, for one, have yet to witness in any other video game. Running around with a random person for several hours has you keeping your teammates' well-being in mind. As always, there's strength in numbers. Oftentimes, if you're playing DayZ the way it is intended to be played, you come to the realization you may never see or hear from this player ever again. Here's an example of what it's like when you first meet other players in DayZ, and this is a quick 2-minute clip.
Hey everyone, Sour here. There's something about working together with other random survivors that's so special, and this adventure solidifies that for me. So, as always, I hope you all enjoy. I can see a dead body over there, by the fence. He's got a blaze on his back.
Hello.
Is that to me?
I have no idea. There was a street sign over there across the bridge, though. I didn't read it. But there is one. Alright, bye-bye.
Bye.
He's gonna murder him. Did he not? I thought he was gonna shoot you, man.
I did too, dude. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching from the side. What's your name?
My name's Stan.
Stan?
Nice to meet you. What's
Nice to
your
meet you too. You can call me... You can call me Bill.
Bruh. What?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot I had the gas mask on. You can call me Rocky.
Rocky. Nice to meet you, Rocky.
Do you have any plans, somewhere you want to go to, or just gonna go with the flow?
I'm kind of just wandering around, man. Don't really know the, Oh, there's a guy coming. Don't really know the layout too much.
Watch out,
Yeah.
boys. There's an arsehole with a gun back there.
There's an asshole with a gun? Was he wearing a green poncho?
He was.
Alright, I'm gonna go get this asshole with a gun.
Yeah, let's go kill him.
Rocky, you got anything to, kill him with?
In DayZ, you start with nothing. You begin on a random spot on the map, which is massive, 87 square miles to be exact, and takes roughly 35 minutes in real time to venture across. If you put that in perspective, that's about 3 times the size of the latest Grand Theft Auto. So Dean Hall pretty much explains that a significant time investment is needed in order to reap the most benefits from DayZ. Every now and then, that's not the case, but for the most part, you're going to have to venture further inland, and the bigger risks often give you the bigger rewards. With that comes something most never experience in a video game outside of maybe horror games like Resident Evil, but even then, there's no comparison. Many players of DayZ explain how they get a deep physiological response identical to the fight or flight system of one's body. So, imagine playing with a player for 6 or 7 plus hours, building a bond, getting gear, getting guns, gathering food, working on injuries, and rarely running into anybody, and then out of nowhere, while you're traveling through the forest, a barrage of bullets comes out of nowhere. So here's a perfect example of that in this short clip.
Hit me really bad.
Okay.
I'm bleeding. Well, I was bleeding. I've got red blood. I mean, if you wanted to, we could head over towards where the bodies are. There was an M4 there.
So where exactly are those bodies?
There's a town just over that way, and there's a tree line between Zelano and that town, and it's there, just down this way.
What was that?
That was a gas bomb, I believe. I think we're at the tree line now where I saw you. Oh! Yeah, there you go. Turn lights off. Off now. Off now. Lights off. Lights off. That's why we don't do lights. Shit like that happens. I need to pull back. I don't see anything. I think our friend's dead because the flashlight on his head was facing up into the trees, which normally means he died and landed on his back.
There's another side of DayZ that few speak of, and it's the darkness of dealing with the loss of a teammate. A brief period of grief usually engulfs you because a bond was created that has been torn apart by another player. Again, if this were any other game, you could simply send the player a message and chat or meet later. But as stated before, if the game is being played as it should, that does not happen. Many avid DayZ players seek to be fully immersed in a virtual world where everything feels tangible and real, and social interactions actually mean something. Here's another brief example of how dark DayZ can really get and what some players may use to start fresh.
Oh shit. Might be something up here for you. Oh, up here.
Yep.
Hey, man.
Gary,
You let that boy get to me like
Gary,
that, man.
don't you do it yet,
Why
Gary.
you let him get
Gary.
like that?
Now, piggybacking off the previous slide, many have talked about what video games do to young men in particular. This is specific to first-person shooter games like DayZ, where you see everything through the eyes of the shooter. This is honestly what most people think of over the past 20 years with the nexus of mass shootings to video games. Most people, the first thing you think of, especially if you're old enough, at least over the age of 30, you would probably recognize the Trenchcoat Mafia in the Columbine shooting. Mass shootings have been tied to video games since the 80s. In fact, I can recall during the time of the Columbine shooting, the game being brought up the most was Doom, and I had played the game a few times when I was younger, but it wasn't really old enough to understand the connection between the two and why they're blaming the video game. The World Health Organization has also classified gaming disorder as an addiction. 55% of gamers are male, and almost all mass shooting suspects are male as well. Is that a coincidence? Let's combat the critics now. I'd be remiss to not point out why or where I agree with some of these sentiments and the research that accompanies it. For one, video game addiction is real, and I've seen it anecdotally with my own eyes. While that is true, I'd like to note that, as I stated in the previous slide, most shooters are men, and more men play video games than women. One would probably expect mass shootings to be a regular, everyday occurrence, and I'm not going to get into the politics of that or guns rights or whatever. I'm not going to get into any of that. I will just say it's not an everyday occurrence, and it does and despite what you may see in the news, there's significantly more things that an individual would have to worry about other than being shot up in their high school. However, it would be easy to find that all mass shooters have probably played a first-person shooter because most of them are men. But that does not mean all those who play a first-person shooter will likely become mass shooters, and this is pretty general with correlation does not equal causation. Additionally, the Entertainment System Review Board has helped. We also read this week about the SRB and how only 13% of underage children being able to purchase games like DayZ rated M for mature has actually worked. It's probably because most gamers are over the... it's probably because most games are that come from a console or a PC, which are at a higher cost. That's why most gamers are over the age of 18, because generally parents or children do not have the ability to purchase something as significant as even a PlayStation, which is $300-400, and a gaming PC you kind of forget about it because that can get upwards of $1,000. Now here's the case for DayZ. What has been presented as a case for a game that emphasizes interaction and teaming with others for a common cause, survival. The game can be the catalyst for an individual suffering from social anxiety to break out of their shell in a more comfortable environment. Research on the link between games and shyness is actually a thing, and that's something I actually learned during my research for this PowerPoint. And some of the research suggests that, and I have to actually read this, that online games hold the potential to be socially advantageous for shy individuals by allowing them to overcome their traditional social difficulties and generate new friendships as well as strengthen old ones. We've all heard of it before, and there's no reason for me to even cite this, but some of society's top fears or biggest fears, commonly ranked even higher than death, is public speaking. Everyone understands this. Now add in the additional facet of somebody's personality that makes them awkward, quiet, and even more fearful to interact with others. With DayZ, one does not have to worry about how they dress or even if they are shaking and appearing nervous. It empowers those who feel they have little to no power when it comes to social situations. And despite the critics of video games in general, this is not simply a first-person shooter where you run around, shoot everything, die, and repeat. There are no instructions, there's no manual, there's no tutorial. You just click start and you end up with nothing on the coast of the video game, and essentially you have to rely on others no matter how dangerous it is to learn. Socially anxious players get a better understanding of someone's tone, pitch, and simply the way a person talks to figure out what is actually happening. In closing, I will leave you with one final example in a clip. It is clear in this one player is seasoned and running the show while the other is following his lead with the interaction, but his confidence grows as the interaction continues forward. The player in this is a very well-known DayZ player, and he's also a veteran player, and you'll see that pretty early on. None of this is scripted. These players all met randomly, and everything is off the cuff improv, just like the previous clips. These interactions are at the core of what makes DayZ beneficial to those who want to better understand others and would benefit from online socialization. I thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoy the last clip.
Crazy thing about Ooh. There you got any 357 ammo? I swipe. No. No sudden movements. No sudden movements, dude. Back up into the house. Into the house. Into the house, dude.
Go. Hey, put that shit down. Come on.
We're fucking locked in. Get. There we go. See, precise. Alright, I got this side. You get that side. There's a fucking crime scene. It's just a rubber, dude. He'll be up in a sec. Just secure him with time up. You see those little moves he was making? I got it.
Oh shit, let's.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't have shit on me. You can take what you want, boyos.
You handle this interrogation. I'm gonna take
Hey,
a
you
shot.
got a nice beer for me, all right? Yeah, I see that. Thought that was yours.
Oh,
That's mine. That's
for me.
mine. I hope you don't mind, but I'm taking your backpack.
Oh shit.
Well, I also don't care if you don't mind, cause it's mine. Yeah.
Hey, can I speak to you in the back room for a moment?
Okay. Hey, don't move. I see you.
Alright, lad.
I don't think this guy is giving us his true identity. I think he's trying to hide something from us, and I really don't like that. So I need you to go over there and execute him. I don't care how you do it. Maybe give him his final words. I need you to see you kill this man. Kill him. I don't want to talk about it. Hurry up, dude.
But he put his machete away for us.
I don't care. Kill him.
Hey, buddy. Look,
Right.
what's your name?
My name's fucking John.
a stupid fucking name. Is he dead?
Dude, you gotta do it faster. He's bleeding out.
Oh, I gotta make. Oh no! Bro, now we're loud. Now everyone knows where we are.